All right. Hi. You're going to start crying. This is a great way to start this. It's a great way to start this introductory video.
I know, with tears. Why? But I'm crying because she goes, just before she clicks record, she goes, by the way, I love you. Click, and it just squeezed my heart. I love you too.
Well, that's okay. Fuck this up already. So, hi, welcome to Stardust. This feels weird because we already done a bunch of videos and we're just
I know.
barely doing an introductory video. This is just to show you what we're about and what's the story leading up to all these videos so that you have a bit of a backstory so you're not as confused when you first dive in.
Okay.
But this is Kari. You're Kari.
Hi, I'm Kari.
And I'm Hermina. You can call me H for short. It's my little, alias name I use because I have a job in the Muggle world, and I don't know how much they would like it.
Mm-hmm.
So who are we? What is Stardust? What is Stardust to you, Kari?
Stardust to me is just this really badass forum in which we get to, well, specifically and initially connect with a particular group of ETs that have been dubbed the Sarsar. That's what Stardust is initially and foremost, but it goes so much farther than that because there's so many other races and species and information to learn, and sometimes we don't even deal with aliens. Sometimes it's got nothing to do with it. So it's kind of like a place for us to express ourselves and offer our opinions without stating them as fact. And it's just a place for people to hear other perspectives and learn and grow and hopefully, have their own experiences and growth and understandings of it too.
Right. We're about love and community. So we're not just about extraterrestrials. We talk about with spirit too. We're very much like a hybrid kind of show.
That's cute.
We don't we don't focus on just one thing.
Right.
I like to think of us as helping with disclosure by bridging the gap between extraterrestrials and humans through love. And love can come in friendship or any kind of romantic relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic, it could be platonic. And I find that we are doing disclosure of service by bridging the gap, by interviewing extraterrestrials that are not very popular. So we'll see a lot of videos of us channeling things like the Inu or the Yip Yips. They're
Yip Yips.
they're beings that, either they told us, their name or we made up names for them because their language is so different we wouldn't be able to pronounce their name. And so we channel different beings that are not very popular because popular ones like the Arcturians, the Palladians, the Blue Avians, things like that, they've been channeled so much. What can we build onto that has already been said? So we kind of pride ourselves on being different.
Yeah, I love that. I love meeting new species. I love that.
We study cultures, so that means we're going to be talking to different extraterrestrials. And we'll be talking to spirit throughout, the videos too, so that we can gain perspective on a more higher picture sense when it comes to things like realities and how to reach self-love and things like that.
Yeah, we do all kinds of stuff. You'll see if you scroll through the video list, there's all kinds of different topics. And we have historical figures, we got pop stars, we got it all.
Yeah. So I'm going to introduce myself. I already said H, but I just kind of want to say that I was somebody who didn't channel before, or at least didn't know I could channel. I think everybody does channel, they just don't realize it. And I was just kind of like a regular girl. I went to college, I worked a full-time job and things, and it wasn't until what got me into channeling was my contact with extraterrestrials. I've had it my entire life. I started off younger with getting abducted by the Greys, and then I had contact with Palladians and Arcturians and all the other Ians out there. And then it wasn't until I came across the Sarsar. I'm going to say the Sarsar are the tall whites. The tall whites are these beings that a few people in the military have written books about or have accounts with. The tall whites they're tall and white, and they have blue eyes. They get mixed up a lot with this other Nordic type of extraterrestrial, so it's important to kind of establish a difference between them. But the ones I have contact with, they have one of their bases is in Nevada and Indian Springs, and they communicate with the United States government as well as other governments on Earth. Um, and one person who has contact with them and wrote books about them was Charles Hall, and that's the same species I have contact with. But I live with my life partner, Josh, and he knows about my connection with them and everything that goes on, even though he doesn't believe in it. But that's what I don't know what led me to extraterrestrials. I had moved to LA, and at the time, this was back in like 2013, and I was really into researching about extraterrestrials and mostly the grays because I had saw my first UFO before I moved to LA. It was late at night. I had just gotten off work, and somebody had pointed up at the sky and said, what is that? And we all looked. Everyone else saw it. It wasn't just me. And it was this light that was flashing different colors really rapidly, like purple, blue, yellow, red, and then it just like shot straight down to the ground in less than a second. It was just gone.
Wow.
And everyone was like, wow. And I was the only one like, that's totally fucking cool. Everyone else was just like carried on with the rest of their lives like nothing happened. I was like, is nobody else freaking the fuck out right now? And that's really shows how humans just don't give a shit. I really think like that's how disclosure is going to be. People are going to be like, don't care that aliens exist, because they're going to react just like my coworkers did and be like, oh, look, UFO. Whatever. So what are you doing on Friday? Like, so that's how I was. And then I started researching about them a lot. And then I came across a video about the tall whites. And I don't know what it was about them. It just pulled me in. I couldn't get enough information about them. And at the time I was Catholic. I grew up Catholic, and I, wasn't into channeling or anything yet. I was just complete muggle, I guess you could say.
Wow. I was a complete muggle that got abducted by aliens all the time.
Right, but I didn't fully remember it. Like, I kind of knew in the back of my head, but I was like, no, that's not real,
That's a dream.
Right, it's just a dream. But it wasn't until I started researching it that I became fully open. My memory started flooding back in. But I needed to know more about them. So I joined like a Facebook group about them. I read all of Charles Hall's books, and I was just hungry for more. And I got to this point where I learned everything I possibly could about them. There was nothing else written about them. Nobody else really had contact with them. They were so secretive. And so I would go out and drive out to the desert to go look for them. And I actually accidentally walked onto an Air Force base without realizing it. This is really hilarious. But that's a whole other story. But they came to finally visit me. And I didn't know at the time that they could get onto social media through like a computer the CIA gives them. We explain everything about this in our videos. Right. So if you're a little confused, like, what the fuck? Yeah, I know, right? It's insane. But anyway, I had like vague memories of Sam. Sam's like my husband. He's not like my husband. He is my husband. He's a Sarsar, or tall white. And we got married, and I'll get into that. And I had these vague memories of him just standing at the foot of my bed, and I would wake up, and he would just smile at me. And I'm pretty sure we had conversations, but I couldn't remember. But all I remember is he used this little pencil-like white device, which is what Charles Hall said they used, and he would put me back to sleep. Before I even met Sam, I met his sister first. At the time, I didn't know it was his sister. I just woke up one night, and this wasn't a dream. I was awake. I'm either really good at hallucinating or this is all real. This woman and her child came into my bedroom, and they were going through my things, going like through the closet, looking at my clothes. Her daughter went through one of my drawers and was giggling when she was looking at my undies. And I remember feeling a little insecure. I was like, what does she find so funny? Well, I guess they heard my thoughts. They wear these helmets where they can hear your thoughts. And she looked at me and she froze, and so did the mom, and they were scared. They didn't expect me to wake up. And
wow.
So I said really clearly in my head, I'm like, I don't want to scare you. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to stay perfectly still so you can leave. And I did that, and then I heard the door close really quietly, and I opened my eyes, and they were gone. And then
That's
I just
crazy.
stayed there perfectly still because I promised them I would stay perfectly
For
still.
the next week.
Yeah, so I stayed there all night, right until like 9 in the morning, just perfectly still. Like, okay, I'm not moving still. But I guess in retrospect, Sam had told me that his sister told him about this encounter, and he came to thank me for how kind I was to
Oh,
his sister. And that's when
oh.
we first met. And, he started to develop feelings for me, which was so weird. To me, I didn't believe it. I remember one night I woke up, I went out to my living room because I saw the lights were on in our living room in our apartment. And so I go out there and I see 4 of them standing in front of my television, and they were trying to get it to turn on. And you see we had like 3 different remotes. Only one of them worked. I don't know why we had the other 2, but they were using the wrong remote to turn it on. And I see
Gosh.
the same woman and child in my closet that was in my living room going through my box of Hello
Fannies.
Kitty. No, no, not my fannies. They're going through my box of Hello Kitty stuffed animals. And
That's right. I remember that.
Sam, who I didn't name him yet, I just called him my tall white friend. He turned around to see me, and then he walked over to me, got down on one knee, grabbed my hand, and he said, "We've been watching you for the past several weeks, and I've come to fall in love with you." And for me, I was fully awake, but I was like, this is not real. I'm fucking dreaming. These are awake dreams. I'm
Wake
awake.
dreams.
I'm awake dreaming.
Wake dreaming.
I don't even know what that is, but that's what's happening. But I'm like, I'm totally insane. This is crazy. And I just felt like I loved him too, but I don't know how. I was like, I just do. And I looked over at Josh and I was like, I love you too, and I'm very flattered, but I have my human. I was talking about Josh was asleep in the other room. I kind of wanted to be funny to kind of lift the mood a little bit. And he got up and he said, "I understand." And then he left back to the TV, and I was like, "That's it? I understand. Okay." So
fight for me.
Right, that's just how they are. They're very like, "I understand." I'm like, okay. And so then I had told him, by the way, you guys are using the wrong remote. You have to use this one. And so they picked up the right one, and then the red Netflix comes on, and they're like, "Oh." Like, yeah, Netflix.
Netflix and chill.
I know, Netflix and chill. This was before Netflix and chill became a thing. Yeah, so this was like 2013. And it was during that same night that I had named him Sam. And I guess naming them is a huge deal to them. I didn't know that at the time. And I thought maybe I was just so obsessed with the tall whites that I'm hallucinating about them. That's what I was thinking this whole time. But I was showing Sam around my apartment, showing him my fridge and where I keep my spoons and shit. And
all the important things.
All the important stuff. And then I told him, I want to know your name. And he said, "You want to be able to pronounce it." And I'm like, I didn't ask you whether or not I could pronounce it. I just asked you what your name was because I wanted to hear the sound of it.
You're sassy.
He liked that, though. He liked, how much of a smart ass I was. And so then, because they're like that. They like to outsmart you or be smart asses back. They're have a dry sense of humor. Anyway, so he said his name and I could not. It was like chirping, bark.
Peep, chirp, and quack.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Not a quack, but like chirping weird sound. I'm like, all right, yeah, I can't pronounce that. But I said he was a soldier at the time or some kind of soldier. And I was like, how about Sam the soldier? I was just trying to think of an alliteration.
Alliteration.
Right, it was really poorly done because you need like 3 or more, but whatever. And he found that I liked him. He took that as me that I really liked him.
Aww.
So, it made him want to come back and keep visiting me. And we ended up having a marriage ceremony. And we had a dinner, and I got to see how they ate. And that was really interesting in and of itself. And I didn't even know I was getting married. I don't know what the fuck was going on. All I knew was that I was getting taken to this other room. They're having me get dressed in a different dress. And I'm like, yeah, all right. So
your ripped up stained Rush sweatshirt wasn't going to do, right?
No, it was not. Wait, no. Was that what I was wearing? No, I was not wearing Rush. I can't remember what I was wearing. Doesn't matter. But my jammies weren't going to do it.
Right.
But I remember some kind of high-end general being there, a human, a couple of them. And they had me sign paperwork with Sam.
Their
Yeah,
marriage
they're
license.
yeah, and they said that
Yeah, I got
this
to pay
would.
taxes for two.
I know. I'm like, what? They're talking about, and I was just thinking, this is fucking insane. I was just going with it. I'm like, yeah, this is just a dream, whatever, you know. But there's so much validation I've gotten over the years that it's getting harder and harder to say this isn't real. Um, but I signed it, and the general said this is going to be stored at the Pentagon. No one else is going to see this. You're going to be able to have a regular human life. I'm like, yeah, how convenient. You know, no one else is going to know about this. How convenient, you know. But I would go out to the desert because I wanted more contact. Because, yeah, I was having these dreams. They're dreams. I was like, but I want more. I want something while I'm, like, really awake and I can't
Right.
say they're dreams.
Right.
But even then, I would still say it's a dream. Because
You
that's going to.
still do sometimes. You're getting so much better, though. You're finally owning that reality. Good girl.
But I would go out into the desert, and I accidentally walked onto an airbase once. I didn't know. You would think they'd have signs or a better fence, or even a fence out there.
Not an invisible line,
Yeah.
right?
And I heard them running around, and I could feel them. And what they do is when they don't want you to come near something, they make you feel afraid. And like
Mm,
I know how I wasn't afraid because I didn't even think I was going to get in trouble because I don't know where I was.
right?
Um, but I got this sudden fear, like I shouldn't go out there. I shouldn't go past this certain point. And
Mm-hmm.
they can do that to you. They can make you feel certain emotions to stop. It's not because they want to control you. It's for their protection and yours.
Yours. Yeah.
And so I finally realized that was them making me feel that way. So I wouldn't go out further. Probably one for their protection, but also for me not to get in trouble.
Right.
And I was leaving off the desert, and then I see the sign that says, warning, bombing and gunnery range for the United States Air Force. Do not enter. I'm like, really?
Hmm.
Really? You should have something better, you know? You shouldn't,
The
like
aliens live here. Back off. Something
yeah,
like that, maybe.
yeah. Or like at least a fence. Come
Yeah, I
on.
know. It's just some
Come
more beat up
on.
sign.
And it was like a mine like every other mile. So it wasn't like they were all, it was really lame. So of course, yeah, I wandered on not knowing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for about, after that, after I moved back from LA, for about 2 or 3 years, I had nothing. Like no contact, no memories, nothing. And I figured, okay, it's just because I lived in LA, you know, I was just crazy and
Los
poor.
Angeles energy.
It's and whatever, it's over now. I can be sane again. Or the aliens lost me. I don't know. I moved. So I just went on with my life. And it was around that time that I really got into spirituality and channeling. And this was in now 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for more information about the Tall Whites, and I came across a Channeling Eric video about where they interviewed and channeled the Tall Whites. I didn't give a whole stock and a lot of stock into channeling because I was like filters and blah blah blah,
Mm-hmm.
and it really intrigued me. But they weren't channeling my Tall Whites because it didn't sound right. Some of the facts that the medium was saying, I was like, it could be another species because people mix them up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, it's another tall and white species. Um, but then I got interested in more of the Channeling Eric videos, and then it just took off from there. I got into learning how to channel, and um, I started the Channeling Eric Mediums group. I did a lot
Mm-hmm.
of work with Lisa and stuff, and then I didn't want to work with Channeling Eric anymore, only because I just wanted to move on and do something else, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so then I gave away Channeling Eric Mediums to somebody else, and then moved on my merry way. I went quiet, and I got a private group that I started called the Secret Book Club, and that was for the first time when I really opened up
Mm-hmm.
about me and Sam, because I would try and talk about my encounters in other type of alien type of groups, but they would always judge me. I even had some people saying, you just want attention. None of this is real. There's so much judgment in the UFO community because they have a very strict, perception of what they deem as real. If you
Right.
had an encounter, but this,
Didn't
point,
fit theirs. Yeah.
right, if this and this didn't happen, then it wasn't real. Or if you had an encounter and this happened, that means it wasn't real. I didn't like that. I didn't like someone telling me what my reality was because
Hmm.
you didn't experience that. You don't know the struggles I already
Hmm.
have. I just want someone to share this with without being judged. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's real. I just need a safe place because I don't have a support group for that. And so I started this private group with a very select few of friends. And it really was therapeutic for me. And that's when this was in like 2016. And this is when I really started to learn about um, how you could communicate with the tall whites through like kind of like channeling in a
Hmm.
way. It's a little bit different than you would channel a spirit because they're not spirit. It's almost like telepathic. Anyway, that's when Kari and I started to work together because I came and approached you and was like, what if I tranced Sam and we were to ask him questions and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But then that's when we only shared in that small group our channelings for a little
Hmm.
bit. And then Sam around that time came back into my life. Um, and it's not that he came back, it's just that I was finally remembering things.
Right.
And he had told me that he said, you wanted to study our culture more. We trust you. So I would have these encounters where I'm just observing them in these odd situations. I wouldn't even know what was going on until I finally remembered, oh, yeah, I asked to study their culture. And so these aren't the things I share about their culture are not channeled information. They're things I've actually experienced with them. So you don't have to worry about filters coming through in regards to that. I hate to say this, but I have to say that if anyone channels something otherwise, it's probably due to their filter because I had no filter when I experienced these things real life. It's kind of like, if someone, I study anthropology too, and I wanted to get a degree in cultural anthropology and study other cultures. It's kind of like a cultural anthropologist writing a book from studying a culture for years, and then someone
Hmm.
comes in and says, yeah, but I channeled this. And it's kind of like, it's really frustrating for me when someone
Yeah.
comes in and says, yeah, well, I channeled this. I'm like, well, that's not true because this is what I studied firsthand in person without
Right.
filters. I don't
Right.
want to
There's
bring
there's a lot
down,
of heavy filter sometimes
yes.
in information.
Yeah, that's why a lot of the things that I do channel from them, I won't say it's a fact, not until I can get there in person and actually see that for myself. Um, but I wanted to have my own private group to share the videos and experiences with. So for a little while, we had the YouTube videos set to private.
Hmm.
No one else could watch them except if you had the direct link and you were in the group. Um, that was like really the birth of Stardust because I really wanted a safe place for people like me who are like the misfits of not just of the spiritual community, but there were the misfits in the UFO community too. I had no one to talk to because both communities judged me and I got bullied so much by them that I was just like, fuck it. I'm going to create my own place for people
Good
who are
girl.
like me, who have different experiences. That's why Stardust, we're so open to other people's beliefs and their experiences because who am I to tell you what your reality is? I'm not.
Yes. Yes.
Um, I don't want you to feel like how I have felt.
Hmm. And that's why you had that experience, so that you can have compassion and be so open and sweet in your own group.
Okay. So Stardust, first off, is on it for the money. Some people are going to say that about this because we've gotten to a certain point. But I've never made any money really off
About
the
the
videos.
money, we don't
Yeah,
make much money. We have our events and we put some money in our pockets, but we work really hard for that and provide a really good service. So there's like no free money getting thrown at us.
right. And no money goes towards marketing or promoting. I don't do any of that stuff because I want people who are meant to find it will find it because I'm
Hmm.
not in it for money. I'm in it for the message to
Me
help
too.
people.
Hmm.
So if you're meant to find it, you will. So no money is going to go towards marketing. And so how big Stardust is because of people
Word
being
of
drawn,
mouth.
word of mouth, people being drawn to it for the right reasons.
And our souls have contracted to create this place for the people that do need this information to come and be drawn to us. I'm understanding that too, that, you and I have contracted together with the Sarsar to have this, but there's also a big blanket of, I'm going to call them followers. That's kind of, I don't mean that we're
Yeah.
leaders, but people that follow the show. So they're in on our contract too. So if you are meant to be here, you will make your way here. You're
Yeah.
supposed to be here. If you're watching this, you're
Yep.
supposed to be here.
Yep, and I just wanted to teach about the Sarsar too because not so much is known about them, and they're such to me, even though they're flawed just like humans are, they they're beautiful to me. They're not perfect, but they're beautiful.
You are their
Even
biggest advocate. You really are. You truly, you exude your love for them.
yeah,
Clearly, you're
I
very
love them.
protective, and yeah, they're your peeps.
They are, and what else I was gonna say? I lost. Even I have my notes too. Anyone that's
Yeah,
new, I have notes because I just lose my train of thought.
notes
Oh,
are like worthless to me because I'll just lose my place in them. But they are effective if you can find your spot.
yes. So Stardust is just we started doing events because um, at first this was like during the right before we created Stardust. I had gone out to the desert camping because I wanted to go look for extraterrestrials out there, and my boyfriend didn't want to come with me, and I was like on this whole self empowerment thing where I was like, I'm a strong, independent woman. I'm gonna go by myself. It's a bad idea. Um, I came across a man who almost raped me um, out there. And I was just so angry that I couldn't, as a person, just go camping out in the desert by myself looking for extraterrestrials because I was a woman and I could be taken advantage of. And that's why I put together the Stardust events when we started Stardust because
Mhm.
other people felt the same. And most of the group is mostly women. And I wanted them to have a safe place to go look for aliens out in the desert without being fearful of anything happening to them. You'll be with a group of people that you resonate with and like-minded, and you can build long-lasting friendships. That's why we do the events, not because we're some kind of cult or anything like that. You
The
know, my
Sarsar
family.
cult,
Yeah,
the
some people joke
the
about
Kari
that.
and Heather cult. I'm gonna start it. I like it.
Yeah, it's just a casual event. We do like, it's kind of like a sleepover. We'll do fun activities during the day, and then at night we go chasing after the aliens. It's really fun because then you have a place to sleep at night, inside a house, or you can choose to go camping right outside the house, but you're right next to people, so you're safe in a group environment, and you don't have to worry about what happened to me when I went out there by myself. That's why we do the events.
Well, that's why you do them. I think they're just a fucking blast.
Yeah,
They're like
well,
a
that's
big
why I
old
do them.
alien party.
It is. And people have their experiences while they're out there, which is just
Sure
an
do.
even better plus. I can't guarantee that, but I love that people do. We've only done it like 3 times, and it's been great every time. Um, so I advise you, if you're new, to watch the factual videos about the Sarsar. I
Oh God, we did 4 hours worth of that one day, all 4 hours in a row, and you broke them into 4 videos.
4 videos that I have it titled under the Sarsar, and it's like the first 4 videos you see on that playlist are the
Okay.
factual videos that are, it's not channeled information. It's just me going over pretty much my entire book that I wrote up of the things I studied about their culture. They trust me to write about their culture, and I'm very honored about that. I want to keep that safe. I know some people are going to judge them regardless of what I say, because some people just have, issues and they just don't
But
like
we're
them.
learning that their
Yeah.
opinions don't matter about how we perceive ourselves. We're
Yeah.
learning that.
Even the Sarsar tell me don't feel like you have to defend our honor like that because you can't control everybody. The reason why I call them the Sarsar and not the Tall Whites is because I had asked them to give me a name I can call them because Tall Whites is associated with a lot of tall and white beings and they would get mixed up. Also, I didn't want to piss off Charles Hall because I want him
Right.
to feel like I was making money off his books because I don't. I may make like a small amount of profit from our events, but we charge for the events so we can make up for the cost of the house and the food and everything like that.
We do a lot of work to put those events together. Plus, all these videos are free. And if we say somebody else's name, they get, they're getting a little props from us. We're
Yeah.
not getting money off of him. He might be getting some off us because maybe somebody wants to go buy his book.
Yeah. So I didn't want to make him mad, even though I actually went to a copyright lawyer and he said that he can't sue you for any of this. But I wanted to change the name regardless. And so I had asked them, what's the name you want to be called? And they wrote it down, Sarsar. They wrote it like Sarsah, something like that. And I woke, and they said Zarzar, something like that with a Z, but we say with an S now. And so that's just what started it. It was their choice.
I got to tell you, I know we're all connected through Minerva, and she takes 100% credit for naming them the Sarsar. I don't know if you remember that, but when you transferred last week, she goes, I can't believe I named him that. That's so funny. But that's another story because we do share, I'm going to get a little spiritual for a second. Heather and I share an oversoul, and we also share an oversoul with some of the Sarsar. So that makes sense that she would go, I have dog hairs stuck to my lipstick. Sorry.
So some people who are coming to this group may be like super spiritual and finding this interesting with the connection of the extraterrestrials with the spiritual. Some people may just be into extraterrestrials and really into the logical side of things, which I am too. And then they're finding the spiritual stuff like a little too much. So I feel like we perfectly blend the two worlds.
Me
So
too.
if you come across this place and you're feeling like, oh, this is a little too much, it could be you just don't resonate with it, and that's okay. We're just sharing our experiences. But it doesn't mean that either of us are wrong or anything. You just don't resonate, and that's okay. But you may come back later because you may be ready to be open to this reality.
It is.
We're here.
It's so commonplace to us, but when you just go off and start, I have made the mistake of telling people I have an alien baby, people that aren't even in this place, and that's a little shocking.
Yeah.
Are you ready to hear my story about how I got into this?
Now Kari's turn to share her story.
All right. Well, I didn't know anything about Stardust at the beginning of this. Is all her baby. However, when I used to do my shiny shows with Allison, we channeled future versions of us. And
your story is so much more spiritual than mine is.
It really is. Future Allison said that I'm going to get so busy with a show that I'm going to start with you and my own show that I will have to back off from the shiny show. And I was like, really? My own show? Really? A show with Heather? How exciting. So I don't know. I may have already been doing this Stardust with you, but she just kind of confirmed that it would, really take up a lot of my time. And so that's kind of, I got some validation through a different show altogether. But what really drew me in, I want to stop real quick because I'm going to put it on pause. When you're talking about that UFO you saw in LA and all the bright colors and you looked around and nobody gave a shit.
Oh, it was back in my hometown.
Okay. That's what happened to me back in my hometown, back in California. I swear I saw a UFO, but I was 12 years old. And when I looked at all the adults, it was a soccer game. Nobody paid any mind to it. So I didn't either. I'm like, okay, since all the adults don't care about it, I guess I won't either. I don't know if they just didn't see it or if it was like, like when the natives didn't see the Columbus boats or whatever it was. I don't know. But anyway, I totally identified with you being the only one to be like, do you see what's happening here? And nobody else cared. Okay, so my real motivation for getting into Stardust, and I know that it's a spiritual contract and that I was going to do it one way or another. But my story is when Heather used to tell me your stories about Sam, and I was such a lonely girl. If you've been following my story on Silver Linings, you will know that I had just this, so many men just not be kind to me. So I was lonely, and she'd tell me about this relationship that she was having with this ET, and I got a little bit excited about that. I'm like, I want an ET too, but I was so brokenhearted, and I was actually very good at like connecting energetically with different beings and stuff. So I was all about. I just wanted to fuck an alien.
I mean, be honest about it.
So Sam, he kind of said it, you and I were just talking casually, like, just hanging out, sissy pantses, Skyping. And Sam kind of dropped that he might have somebody that might work out for me. He might know some guy. I didn't know at the time that they were besties and that it was, not just some guy that might be okay for you. And Avery, that's my space guy. I got to name him myself. I love that name. he is a hybrid himself. So he doesn't share the Sarsar way of like committing for life. So he was, and that's why Sam thought he might be a good fit for me, because I was just out to have a little fun. I was not interested in being in love because I had my heart broken so many times. Well, it wasn't too long that, just like with you, and you said, I don't know why I loved him. I don't know how it happened. Just I did. That's how it was for me, because there was like, we'd speak a little bit, but there was like, no, I didn't go on a date with him. He didn't take me to the movies. We didn't, drink champagne over our steak dinner or anything else. So I didn't really get to know him in a traditional way, but I was in love, hook, line, and sinker. And and I've said it so many times in both my videos that he feels so pure to me. He is just pure love. And I say that, it comes from somewhere else. It does. It comes from the soul. It is an energetic love. I love him. And I remember, it really came down to it when I went to Europe and I got my heart broken again. And I remember that, Avery had said he was pissed. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. I don't care. But he was pissed at Michael for breaking my heart. And you found it so funny because Avery, his response to you for me was, should I harm the young man? Not should I kick his ass, but should I harm the young man? That's just not my style. And I honestly don't know what Avery could have done, because I think about your naked raper man in the desert, and I know that he got a little ass kicked. But then I also think that maybe it just would have been enough to just do whatever they do and scare him a little. You said, for protection. But I know that Avery was speaking out of love and protection from me, and I really don't think he would have done anything anyway. Whether he would or not, he absolutely did not, because he respected my choice to not go that route. And as many times as I've been pissed off at my husband, I have never asked Avery to come kick his ass. That's just not my way. But God, that's so strange to me. Do you know what Avery could have done or what he had intended? Do you have a vibe about that?
No, he probably wouldn't have like fatally wounded him, but they're not inherently violent. Because some people be like, seeing this for the first time. It's like you really have to watch our factual videos about them. But they do get protective, and how they honor their wives and their family is they believe a tit for tat, eye for an eye, and they will hurt you if you hurt their loved one.
I absolutely, and I don't want to scare people either, because I'm going to absolutely lay it down that this is out of protection and love for me. He really was being protective of me, and
he probably wouldn't have hurt him. He probably would have came to him and probably gave him a good, lecture.
It's so weird. That would just be so unusual. And I always wondered what Michael thought of that.
And it would have been scary, this alien just coming in, like, how dare you,
Yes.
He probably wouldn't have physically hurt him at all, because there's no reason to. You're like, you weren't in any danger.
They are about peace too. They're not about, shaking shit up. But the reason Naked Guy, he was a threat, and that's the reason. They are not, that's another thing. This is a good point to make. They're not spirit.
Nope. They have ego. They get angry.
They're incarnate. Yeah.
They get envious. They get happy. They get overjoyed. They can cry. They get sad. It's just that some people get fearful of that and turned off by that, but it's really because of your own perception of humanity and yourself.
And let's
go for it.
Let's touch on that a little bit more, because many people at the beginning of this really compared them to spirit. They wanted them to be angelic and save them and all of that. And even though they are different, they have like that dry sense of humor, and they have a different sense of creativity than we do, et cetera, et cetera. Even though they have their differences, they are very much like us. And we do have tempers, and we do have love, and we do have, protection. So I don't want to scare anybody off when I say that. I want instead to give a perception of their humanness.
Right. How easy it is to connect with them, because so many people, and this is also what Stardust does, it really brings the extraterrestrials down off that pedestal that many of us have put them on. It's almost like they're unreachable, and we learned that not just the Sarsar, but even higher up beings like Palladians can feel anger. It's just how quickly they're able to let go of it and transcend it. So when you're an incarnated being, doesn't matter what being you are, you're going to feel emotions. That's the whole point of existing. If you feel peace and love all the goddamn time, what's the point? Why are you even here?
Right.
So some people will only say, well, I only channel Arcturians because they're higher, blah, 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 and they're peaceful. Well, they are incarnated, so they can feel certain emotions. Just probably don't feel them as strong, and they probably don't feel them as long. They're able to let go easier, and that's the difference. But they still feel all the same things. So the Sarsar do, and if they feel that they are in danger, they're not violent, inherently violent like humans are. You have to provoke them. You have to back them up against a wall.
There has to be some real reason.
Yeah.
You know, a real, like, true reason, you know, not just, I don't know, not just a bunch of bullshit or hearsay, I guess.
Right. So for me, when I was almost raped, they attacked him because it was for my protection. So it was in order to protect me. That's why.
And I've never really wanted a man to protect me in that way. I've never felt the need to have somebody.
I needed that.
Yeah, you did. But even though I've never needed it, and it's never anything I fantasized about, I still appreciated that because nobody has come to my defense in that way. Anybody, you know, if somebody hurts me, well, you do. You're so sweet. Who do I need to cut?
Yeah. I'm like, I will fuck a bitch up.
Right.
Do not touch my Kari.
So I didn't have that before. I love that, how fiercely protective and how much he loves me. So to continue on with my journey, it just grew from there. And I feel like my relationship with my ET, my spaceman, is so magical and so beautiful. And even though it is on this world, it is out of this world. And I don't have the, you know, it's so interesting. You keep talking about your dates. I like 2013, 2014. Those are my same dates when I started all this stuff too. And what a completely different route we took to get to this same place. That's interesting to me. So that's how I got involved with Stardust. And I love doing Stardust with you. I love what it's about. I love that we talk about all, you know, and learn and meet all these different species. I love that we learn their methods, the way they view the world, their filters, their perceptions. I love just hearing about the kind of foods they eat, you know, all of the stuff that they do. I love that. I love that we do incorporate spirit in those kind of messages. But I love working with you. And I'm going to get a little sappy because you are my heart and I love you so much. And I know that you know what I'm talking about because I know that you love me the same. Stardust is such a special and magical thing. And I think the people that watch it feel it too. But nobody's going to know the way.
Aww.
It's not going to mean the same to anybody else that it means to you and I. It's like our baby together. And we get to spend time every week. And it's such an awesome thing. And I'm so grateful to our higher selves for writing this into our story. So thank you for being my sissy and letting me be part of your journey and helping it become mine too.
I love you too. Well, that was an introductory. I think that was perfect, especially with you crying, because you cry all the time in our videos. So it shows people how you get.
Me.
We were just regular girls who I just, you know, I still think, I'm like, well, I mean, maybe I wasn't in love with my boyfriend and maybe, you know, that's why I made him up because I was just lonely and I just, you know, I needed to fill a void. You know, I've been through all the thoughts already. You don't need to throw them at me. I've been through them all. Nobody doubts me and my experiences more than me. I mean, you can doubt too. That's fine, but really.
And isn't that so interesting? All the experiences you've had and all the observations and channelings and remote viewings and all of the things you've had. You've even had physical proof. You had that mark and you still doubt. And I haven't had like a fraction of that. And I'm 100% on board and believe it wholeheartedly.
Because I can reason it away. You know, I've spent years like studying psychology and stuff. So I'm always thinking, what kind of mental illness do I have right now?
No, that has anything to do with studying. That's just you and your default setting.
Yeah, no, that's my default setting. So don't worry. I love how I take a more grounded approach and you take a more spiritual approach. And
yeah, we're complementary to each other. Yeah.
So there's a little bit of everything for everybody. But yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So, you know, when you're watching and following along, chime in, share your own experiences.
In a respectful way. Don't be a dick about it.
Don't be a dick. That's the one unofficial rule. Don't be a dick.
Just don't be an asshole. We're fine.
That's
it. All right.
All right. See.
That was almost an hour-long introduction. Welcome to Stardust.
Okay, now let's start the video. That was the intro. Now let's start.
Let's start the video. So welcome to Stardust. Make yourself at home. You can join our Facebook group. and you can share your encounters and your stories there. People post funny memes sometimes, or just go there to vent about whatever the hell's going on in their life. It's really just a place for friends.
It really is a regular group. You can't put anything in there. People can write about the new grandbaby they just had, whatever.
Yeah.
And it really is, there is like zero judgment in there. There really is. And every once in a while we'll get a stray and it's just like, delete. We just
Yeah.
don't.
We delete you because I don't get paid for this. So if you're going to make my life harder than it has to be, just fucking leave. I don't want to deal with this.
Right. Oh, and it's noteworthy to say that if you're watching this and you want to join that group, because we are protective of other members and because we want to keep it drama-free and respectful, in order to let us know you are not a robot, go ahead and answer at least one of the questions, even if it's just something simple that say, I saw you on Stardust and I want to be a part of it. It could
right.
be,
Don't just be like, but also some people will just write like the last question. They'll be like, do you agree to our rules? They'll just say yes. To me, that's not enough.
Okay.
I'm like, I need you to tell me why you're, at least answer one of the first two questions. There's 3 total. Answer at least one of the first 2.
Yeah, and do that so that you can be a part of this and understand it's not for control necessarily. I mean, it is. Well, quality control. We don't want bad guys. So
right. Sometimes they seep in, and that's fine. They're not bad, but I mean, like sometimes they seep in, but very rarely I've had.
I know there hasn't been like drama or trouble or anything in there.
It's a really good group.
It's nice to be free. Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's it.
Okay.
Stardust. Enjoy yourself.
There you go. All right.